All right, so what's up? So today we're going to be going over the top 10 most interesting graves in Red Dead Redemption. These are great. So basically, like the criteria is like whether it's like something funny or maybe like the way that the person died is kind of how I kind of rank this list. So, anyway, so we're going to do the top 10, but first I want to do some honorable mentions. Let's get into that. All right, so for the first category of honorable mentions, I might just put them all into one, but I might like separate them a little bit. But was basically the family members or supposed, maybe I guess, I don't know if it's confirmed, but I'm guessing maybe family members of characters that are in the game. So first, we have Alejandro Fortuna, who I think is probably related somehow to Luisa, because even like in his grave it said that he died for his country, basically. So I think that was interesting. Another one was, let me see, one, two, three, four. There are four McFarlane men that are buried in Armadillo. So I think that Bonnie had mentioned that briefly, that basically that most of her brothers had died except for one who lived out east and that didn't really keep in touch with the family or anything. So these must have been the four brothers that she was talking about when she was telling John about it when he first got to McFarlane's ranch.
Don't you have any brothers or sisters, Miss McFarland?
I had 6 brothers, but 5 of them died, either from sickness or foolish choices.
And the other one?
He left for the east and never came back. Must be getting on for 10 years ago now. He's a high and mighty banker in New York, according to his last letter.
Trying to think. Oh, another family member was Francis Moon, the brother of our favorite Armadillo storekeeper, Herbert Moon. Yeah, his brother is in the Coos Chapel cemetery as well. Herbert Forth, he is the father of Moses Forth. So Moses is basically the other treasure hunter that Seth was basically trying to screw over. That they were fighting over the glass-eyed treasure. So his father is in Tumbleweed. Louisa Worthington, so not really related to a specific character. I don't even think we come across any of the Worthington Ranch. So like Worthington Ranch is just like outside of McFarlane's ranch. It's a much smaller ranch than McFarlane's ranch. But yeah, so the wife of Ray Worthington is there. Mabel Briars, which is interesting. So she is, I think it's now solely, I'm going solely based off the last name, but I think it's Seth's mother. I think it's Seth's mother because his name is Seth Briars, so I think that's his mother. And then another person's mother is Mabel Fordham, so Archer, so like the other agent that works with Edgar Ross. His mother is buried in Blackwater Cemetery as well. Orla Gaston, this one was interesting just because of how she died, because she died with an automobile accident a couple years before the events of the game takes place. So it makes me wonder, like, when did they bring the cars into Blackwater, and like how many people died from it? And I wonder if that like scared certain people off from adopting it, just like I'm sure it did with real life, right? Like I'm sure people are like, those are death traps, I'm not riding in those things. So she died with a car accident. And then also the wife of Marshall Johnson, which I didn't know about. Some of these people I knew, but some of these people I didn't. So like the wife of Marshall Johnson, Priscilla Johnson, I had no idea that he didn't, that his wife was dead. Yeah, so that was interesting. This one, Roberto de la Fuente, it was not really like his grave or name that really was like kind of interesting, but more of like what it said. Like it's really beautiful what it said. So I'll read it to you in Spanish and then I'll translate it in English. La misma muerte que hoy nos separa nos reunirá algún día. So what it means is the same death that today separates us will reunite us again someday. So I just really liked it. I was like, oh, that's a real profound and deep inscription on that grave. So that's why that made it in the honorable mentions. And finally, is this, I'm not sure if it's a grave. It looks like a grave kind of, but it kind of doesn't. Like from what I've seen anyway, from what I know. So there's this, we'll just call it a site, right? So this native site, it's nearby Repentance Rock. There's a broken carriage nearby the road, and if you go past that broken carriage, you'll reach this point, like right where this bush, where this is, where this marker is or grave is. And it's like, you see there, that it looks like it's some kind of like deer skin stretched out with like rocks that are placed nearby it. And, you can see some turquoise on top of it as well, which makes me think it's like a southwestern kind of tribe, based in like the Rio Bravo kind of area. But the only reason I'm not sure if it's a grave is because it seems too open. But I mean, it very well could be. But like, there's also like markings on the hide or whatever that's over it. So it could be a grave, but it could not be. Because, I don't know. I mean, like, from what I know is that basically, specifically when it comes more to like certain southwestern tribes, a lot of times they would just bury their dead quickly. It could be a grave, but it could not be, but it's still very interesting nonetheless. So, now that we've gotten past all the honorable mentions, let's get into the top 10. So at number 10, we have Delilah Gasco, who on her grave says, "Wake me if something interesting happens." So I thought that this was kind of, interesting, we both saying that, but I thought that this was interesting because I think it could have been like a nod maybe to kind of, I don't know if I would describe it as an Easter egg or a mention, but it's kind of leading towards like the undead nightmare, right? Like what happens like with undead nightmare. So like, wake me interesting if something happens. Something interesting didn't happen, and then basically everyone got out of the grave. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. It was kind of like a little bit of a nod towards undead nightmare. Then at number 9, we have Hart Cummings, whose grave says, "I guess it was more than just a bad cough." So maybe he died of like tuberculosis or something, but I just think it was funny that they put that on there. I was like, I guess it's more than a bad cough, it's like, dang. Yeah, but a lot of these graves are just like funny, like how they say it, but yeah, it's like, I guess it's more than just a bad cough. So anyway, so at number 9 is Hart Cummings. At number 8, we have Iris Summers, which says, "His memory and syphilis will live on." Dang. So I'm sure, like, I don't know if they mean like whoever he was with, like he gave them syphilis, so that'll live on, or that syphilis itself will live on even after he's gone. That the disease itself will live on. But I thought that was a funny one. So at number 7, we have Lambert Henning. And on his grave it says, "He stepped onto the track to see if the train was coming. It was." It's such a dumb way to die. Like, seriously, like, especially like in this time period, like you could see trains coming. I can see if it was like a high-speed train, and like some, it's happened a few times where people like they've been like listening to headphones or something, they don't realize a train is coming, or they get stuck on the train track. And maybe that's what happened. Maybe he was like playing around too much, he got stuck on the train track, but. Yeah, Lambert Henning is not a very wise man to be killed in that way. So, yeah, no. Number 7 is Lambert Henning. Alright, at number 6 we have Hoover Cowan. And on his grave it says, "Here lies my third husband, 4th time lucky." Dang. Especially to have a third husband, especially during this time period, is like really rare. Like, this one must have been like a young girl getting with like a bunch of old guys. Well, not even old. He was like, what? He was 41 when he died, so it's like, I don't know if it's like a younger woman getting with a whole bunch of old men and they just go like that, or if it's, one woman just with a bunch of, with her luck being bad, but his luck being good, 4th time lucky. So, yeah, it's just crazy, and it's weird to think, like, a lot of this, when I was looking up stuff for this video, where I was looking at all these graves from the cemeteries, most of them die, like, in their, like, 30s or 40s, I mean, some of them were like, younger, a little bit older, but most of them were, like, in like their 40s when they die. It's like, dang, isn't it crazy to think that basically if you're 25, you're basically middle age in like the Old West terms. And if you're like 30 and up, you're considered almost like a senior. But yeah, so anyway, so at number 6 is Hoover Cowan. Alright, so we're entering the top 5. So at number 5 we have Truman Briggs. And on his stone it says, "Loved by his mistress, murdered by his wife." So she probably went and caught him cheating, and she handled her business. Like, oh my gosh. I wonder, yeah, it's probably his wife who wrote it, but it's funny because, like, wouldn't that be incriminating herself? But I guess she was that passionate, and I don't blame her. Like, especially like back then it was kind of, but even like nowadays, like I've heard, I've seen all kinds of stuff that, some women do if they catch, their guy cheating. It's just like, be careful out here, man. Don't be playing with some of these women, because you might wake up with like a kidney missing or something. All right, so that was number 5 with Truman Briggs. All Alright, so next we have Ada Stillman, who choked on a chicken bone. And that's how she died. Like, she survived, you know, out being in the Wild West. She survived all the crazy violence and stuff that's going on in towns. She survived, like the exposure, the lack of food out in the wilderness. But she just died on a chicken bone. She died choking on a chicken bone. Oh my gosh. Or not chicken, a fish bone. I totally whiffed that. A fish bone, which I guess I could understand. I think that does happen. Obviously not as now, often as now, but like sometimes, like especially with certain dishes, they're prepared with the bones still in them, and especially fish bones, like, yeah, that'd be not a good thing to choke on. I mean, you don't want to choke on anything, but a fish bone is definitely one of the worst things you could choke on because it's just cutting you as you're choking on it. But anyway, so yeah, so that's number 4, Ada Stillman. Next we have Georgia Dobbs at number 3. And this one was like, we went from like one extreme, from like a little thing taking somebody out to a big giant thing. Her says, killed by the falling of an oak tree upon her. Being killed by an oak tree, it's like so random. It's just like, how did she have an oak tree falling upon her? I don't know. Maybe it was like a big storm or something, and it was like a dead one, and it just like fell over on her. But man, what a way to go. So at number 3 is Georgia Dobbs. And then at number 2, we have Lydia Grubb. And it says, dearly loved wife of Eldon Grubb. By this tombstone at Grubb Undertaker in Armadillo. It's like, dang. How cold is that? Like, I guess, yeah, it's his wife. So his wife just died, and it's probably, Eldon Grubb's probably the owner of the store. And he's probably like, my wife died, but you know what? I might as well capitalize this. I might as well make a quick buck. I might as well, promote my business, to help me. It's like, well, if you want to buy this tombstone, come by my shop. I'll get it free. You like what I did there? You like the inscription? Come on by my shop. I'll give you the same one, even better. 2 for the price of 1. Got kids, with measles, or you got cholera outbreak in your house? I got you. 2 for 1 on a tombstone. Oh my gosh. I thought it was just funny though. I just thought it was like, dang, man, that's cold. But then again, back then, times were rough, and if you needed to advertise on your dead wife's grave, then you had to do it to survive. But yeah, so that's number 2, Lydia Grubb. And at number 1, we have Edgar and Lila Shelton. This one is like, this is 2 graves at number 1. This is interesting because they both died by lightning in the same year. They both died in 1865. So I don't know if it was like they both died like on the same day, like lightning struck both of them, or like if lightning struck one, like Edgar in July, and then it struck Lila in October or something. But it's nuts. Like, what are the chances that you get struck by, that both of you are struck by lightning in the same year? They were both killed. They probably both died at the same time by lightning. It's like, dang, like what a way to go, man. I wonder, I mean, it's like, I forgot, I should look it up. I should look up and see how many lightning deaths there are a year. But it's like ridiculously rare. I mean, because there's sometimes where people have been struck but they actually survive. But like, to actually be killed by it like that, it's like, dang, like what a way to go. Both of them died the same way in the same year. So that's the number 1 most interesting grave, are the Sheltons. That is it for the top 10 most interesting graves, in my opinion, in Red Dead Redemption. So, yeah, I mean, it was real fun doing this. It was just a random idea I had. I was like, let's go, because I've always done that. Like, I always like looked at the graves, and I think it's real interesting that, that the developers took the time to actually put information on the tombstones, because they easily could have left it blank or just left it generic, but some of what was written here is very funny and very interesting. So I hope you guys enjoy this top 10. I should have a few more coming on the way. I'm just thinking of like more top 10 things I can do. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you.